Therapists of Reddit, what was your biggest I know I'm not supposed to judge you, but holy shit moment? Two contexts come to mind. I often work with people in abusive relationships, and it is incredibly common for people to go back to their abusive partners after leaving. Some studies show the average number of times someone goes back before leaving for good is 7 times. I know my people go back, and I get that it's often a combination of manipulation, financial control, gaslighting, love, low self-esteem, and fear. But man, it is hard to watch and appear neutral. I can say I am worried about their safety, but I can't yell, for fuck's sake, stop going back. What is it going to take? Like I want to. The other situation isn't really judging the person, it's more judging OCD. But OCD is weird. The infinitely weird ways it can show up are so funny and bizarre. Again, I would never judge a person for having the intrusive thoughts they have or doing the compulsions that are somehow linked in their mind to those obsessions, but I absolutely judge OCD and constantly marvel at how creative and weird the human brain can be. I work with youth and adolescents who have anxiety, trauma, or depression. Some of the kids I worked with had some pretty severe attachment issues. Regardless of this, I never thought I'd have to seriously explain. All 3 are related to a single family. You can't just buy a straitjacket for your kid. Feeding your kid ultra-spicy ramen each night instead of the meal everyone else is eating isn't specifically defined as abuse, but you have to understand the emotional abuse that this causes. Your kid isn't trying to kill you because they stand in your doorway at night crying. That's likely because they're scared of their traumatic nightmares, but feel like you will just yell at them if they wake you up. When I was underage, I got caught with a drink on Bourbon Street and got a minor in possession. I was telling my therapist about it and said that the police caught me with a hand grenade in New Orleans. He didn't realize that a hand grenade was a type of drink, and it was funny to watch him try to process that his patient might have just casually told him that he had been caught with a fragmentation grenade. He took a big lone pause and said, "Where did you even find a grenade?" I realized the misunderstanding quickly and corrected him. But for a moment, he definitely was thinking, holy shit. How do I deal with this? Clinical psychologist working primarily in forensics here. This means my clients are usually involved in legal proceedings. My job is usually to evaluate or provide treatment. I'm not there to judge, that's the judge's job, but of course I have my thoughts. I'm usually impressed by the justifications people make for shitty behavior. The one that hurts me the most is when parents manipulate their child against the other parent. I've had to do therapy for a 5-year-old who said she doesn't want to see a parent because they haven't paid child support. Excuse me? What 5-year-old knows, understands, or needs to be worried about child support? I work in healthcare, and I've never heard a therapist, psychologist, or psychiatrist judge patients openly. Other nurses and doctors on the other hand, holy shit. At some of the clinics I've been in, the conversations in the break room and at the nurses' stations blew my mind. During my training, I was asked how would you feel if a client were to come to you and admitted they were a pedophile that was on the edge of committing seriously horrific acts. Could you see that person as another human being that needed help, or were your personal feelings about the abhorrent behavior too strong? This factor led some people to not continue my course on to the next level, but it really illustrates the level of non-judgment needed in this field. We all have our own personal feelings of course, but these get talked about in supervision. I'll never judge someone, especially someone who has come to me hurting. The world is full of assholes already. That said, I found out while I was still doing internships that I'm very uncomfortable working with abusers, so I don't do it. It took me 1 week count of a man describing in detail how he was strangling his wife up against the wall and making her look at the beam he was going to hang her from. I got out of the office and told my supervisor I just couldn't do it. Well, I quit my last therapist because I made him cry uncontrollably. He tried not to, but he just couldn't hold it back. I felt guilty and won't see him anymore. I think he may have lost a child before. I described watching my aunt grieve over her son's body. I felt so much pain losing him, but was explaining how watching my aunt was dramatically worse. The details about her is what made him lose it. I could tell he was reliving something inside his own head.